Maka, what's the closest high school to your area? Like, are you following? Because I know football season starting to kick off.
Yeah.
Do you follow high school or collegiate or anything
Um,
or
man, you know what's funny is
sport?
even though I've been in Utah for years, just because I grew up in LA, I follow more Cali football than Utah. I don't know, it's because I have a
Okay.
lot of nieces and nephews. Because majority of my immediate family still they're all in LA.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but right now, I think in Utah it's the typical. I don't know if you ever heard of Corner Canyon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the schools down south, I think. Man, I forgot the schools down south, but a couple of them are doing pretty good. You know, Utah's starting to get up there as far as like
Yeah.
recruiting and stuff. But I live close. The closest high school to me is Cypress
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
and Hunter High School. But I don't know if you're aware that Cypress's new high school is about to open up. I think it's going to be the biggest high school in Utah once it opens up.
Wow.
But the
Wow.
problem is the old Cypress High School, the football was so bad that a lot of the kids are like going to better schools.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to affect it. If parents are going to try to bring it back, because like kids like the nicer facilities, but
Oh yeah.
the parents like the better programs. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, man. That's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I'm getting ready to after Malo bit thought they looked a whole lot, but we finally about to have our first kid, man. So
Oh, that's big news, man. Congratulations.
found out it's a boy.
Congratulations.
I'm trying to debate. We'll see when it gets here. When it gets to that time, I don't know what high school he'll go to. We'll see.
All right. All
Nice.
right.
Nice, Maka.
Yeah. So
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, but they have a lot of businesses out here close to Cypress, and a lot of them are funded the building of the school because the school's like it's like a university, man. It's huge. I don't know if you guys look it up after, but I'm like, I hope if the parents, because there's so many colleges. There's a lot of Tongans and Samoans here in Magna,
Yep.
West
Area.
Mountain
Yeah.
area, but a lot of their kids go to like
Other schools.
other
play
schools.
football.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
What's the
Nice.
dang? Okay, I'm just working in the background. Like to welcome everybody. People are kind of trickling in. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, X. I just turned on Instagram, and I'm gonna work in the background on Patreon. So welcome everybody. Continue the live session here. So I'm just gonna keep working in the background. I'm gonna work on Patreon now, guys. So.
Right.
Nice. Nice.
What do you think, Utah football, high school football versus Cali? I know, I think everybody would pretty much
John
agree.
Bosco-
Cali
John
football is
Bosco's-
probably higher level.
Yeah. I mean, John Bosco is tend to be is that the top high school now in California?
Which one?
Or is it John Bosco? That seems to be the one I've been hearing the most coming out of
Well,
Cali.
the top two that's been kind of fluctuating is Mater Dei and Bosco, St. John Bosco.
Oh.
Yeah,
Mm.
but to go back to Tua's question, I think it's just Cali in general just has a bigger pool.
Yeah.
It's like 10-1 versus population wise, so they have just more kids to pick from. But
And I think they're putting more money into their programs too. So
Yeah.
higher population, more money
yeah,
in the bigger cities. Hard to
Yeah.
compete.
but
Hard to compete. though.
compared to like 10 years ago, oh yeah, Utah is like been a big boost, and then plus there's a lot of my extended family move out from LA. A lot of them are here in Utah now, so all their kids in the high schools, and I'm not saying that's them in particular making the schools better, the teams better, but there's a big influx of just California in general, but a lot of polys are moving out here from Cali,
California.
Hey, be careful because I think Kahuku beat the number. Who's that Cali team they beat? Kahuku High School beat. Was it Mater Dei or was it John Bosco that played in Hawaii last year?
Was this recent? Oh, last year?
Just like last year.
Yeah, I don't think it was
Yeah.
Mater Dei. Let me see. I might have to look
Like the
that up.
number. Yeah. Kahuku.
Um,
It was one of the California or St. Bosco. Might have been
It
St.
might have been. Let me see.
Bosco.
I'm just pulling it up. I think, might have been Bosco, maybe.
Yeah.
Because who
Yeah.
are they playing? They're playing two teams this year, right, Masi?
Yeah, they're playing Bishop Gorman in Nevada. That's like the top high school in Nevada. At Nevada, and they're playing Modern Day at Kahuku in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they've beaten Modern Day, but you never. Oh, let me see. But you never know with Kahoku sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they play
I think
at
Kahoku
home,
came out here to Utah. I don't.
Yeah, no. I think when Kahuku plays at home, it's like a different. They tend to play above their talent, like they say, possessed.
Next level.
Bit. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Nacho, Malo, welcome.
They beat
Nacho.
Oh, it says here. So, it was Bosco and Maka, from what I see. September 16, 2023.
Ikai Masi, Clymore. Welcome, Clymore. He updated who Kahuku beat.
Yeah. I like it, Clymore.
Yeah.
Hey, for all the Koku, for all the Koku supporters, make sure you guys win these next two big ones, so then Clymore can believe Koku's the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be. Go ahead, Maka.
No, I swear, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. There was a team out here that beat Kahuku. Kahuku came out here to Utah. I don't know if it was East High School or I don't know if you guys remember that game.
Yeah. Kahuku's had a little bit of a challenge winning when they travel outside of the state. In the state, they do pretty well, but traveling out of state.
Yeah.
Anywhere they travel, that's a lot of miles right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when my high school traveled, we won when we traveled.
Who
did you guys play? Who did you guys play, Tua?
No, they this was the last time St. Louis traveled was like 2001. 2000
Really?
and 2000. And they went to Vegas and did some extracurricular activities, and then the administration said no more traveling.
Oh,
wait,
man.
and they played Bishop Gorman, Nevada?
I don't know who they played, but the administration will not allow the school to travel anymore. But St. Louis used to travel every other year to play on the mainland, but no more. Hey, Wada Bears, welcome.
Wada Bears, go now, man.
We were just talking with Maka here, about pushing the limits. I think this is 3 nights in a row that we've had that digital Kava session. So I think we may be pushing our visa limits. We may be pushing our luck here with spouses.
Got a little pass tonight.
Oh yeah. All right, man. I think we're gonna get rolling here. I'm gonna go through our intros and then we'll get started.
Why not? Oh,
Welcome everyone to another. It seems this is a record for our digital Kava sessions, 3 in a row. Everybody is still trying to recover from the last couple nights. Our hardcore dudes are still rolling in, and Malo, Kava University, appreciate it. Malo. So today we have Maka joining us. Maka's been on vacation, he's been busy and has some exciting news. Looks like he's going to have a son, but he's still in timeout with the wife. So we say, hey, Mr. Ihala Maka, we appreciate you giving us another opportunity to hang out with your husband. But just kind of go ahead real quick, Maka, and say hi and introduce yourself.
Man, hello to everybody. For those of you who don't recognize me, I got a new hairdo, so
I know because you had the dreads before, right?
Yeah. My wife said, you had your little you shouldn't have done it in the first place. But yeah, that's the last time you. Hey, what a Bears, Malo. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, I'm just like the last video. I know it's kind of long, so I'll just cut it short. So you don't have to watch that 1 hour, 2 hour video. But yeah, just from grew up in LA, live out here in Utah now, and again expecting my first kid, having a son. So he's not here yet, but you know what I mean. Talotu big guy, but yeah, I'm just living the life out here in Utah. So
okay. Well, welcome to everyone. Alexander, welcome. Malo. Everybody's rolling in. So we're gonna go through some initial discussions. We have some videos. We're gonna ask Mr. Atearoa if he knows this video. I guess it's maybe from the New Zealand Parliament. I don't know if you know this politician, Masi. But we'll go ahead and listen through and see if you know any background. I've seen it a lot on social media, so I don't know what exactly it's about, but it's a politician speaking in Maori, and she's kind of got some, what is it, Maori Toto or something like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Let's see.
Yeah, so let's take a look and see. This is in Mr. Atearoa's neck of the woods. Let's see how familiar he is with the politics in his area. But I think this is like the youngest member of parliament in and I don't know what she's going on about. She starts off by saying, oh, if we want to go there, and then she goes into this well, I guess I'll call it a rant. I don't know, but let me see.
I think I see this too.
You think you saw this? So let me know, Masi, what you know about this. And see what our sister's concern is, if you know anything about it.
So if we want to go there, let's go there. No mai ki tō mātou nei whare, no mai ki tōku nei marae, haere ki te kōrero atu ki oku nei kaumātua, haere ki te kōrero ki oku nei ruruhi korei heke o ngā tirangi, no ngā haue whao te motu, hara mai ki te kōrero, maumau tō toto Māori, maumau tō toto Māori, maumau tō toto Māori. So if we want...
And it looks like, is she talking to that conservative guy? Because they showed a video to him. What was going on there, Masi?
So pretty much, this is she represents the Maori party that's in government. They're in the opposition, of course, and she's probably. I think I remember seeing it when it was like having the live dialogue. She's speaking to another Maori who is much older than her, and he represents the ones who are in power, which is the New Zealand First party, Winston Peters, and they just have different beliefs on how the country should be going. She obviously represents, and their party thinks that Maoris, the native people, are not getting the best benefits from the government, while the older one, who's well versed and actually has done actual work to help Maori, saying that what they're doing is actually going to help the Maori people. So that's why they're having that little spill there,
a little back and forth.
And yes, and that's why I think she said she's willing to go there, as like all Polynesian is a bit rude for a very young. She's only like 21 or 22. She's speaking to somebody who's, I think, 74. So you know what I mean, cultural. So that's where that cultural input is going going on.
Tension there, yeah.
Before he responds to him, how he says on an actual Maori marae, young people don't speak like that to their elders, and then that's kind of like her response to saying, "Let's go there."
You want to go there? That's why she goes, "Oh, you want to go there?" And it looks like Nacho has offered his translation capabilities, and Nacho says his translation is "Mau mau hototo Maori."
Hey, who could? Maybe. Hey, who knows?
It sounds close. That's pretty close, man.
Yeah.
And Kava University wants to know if she's reciting a haka. Is this from her marae? I heard marae in her comments. So
probably
interesting.
Probably.
Would know.
Yeah. Looks like Clyde Moore says the woke have opted our culture representatives in parliament. If you looked up some of the Maori conservatives like Winston Peters, he has quite the resume. You're a fan
Me.
of Winston Peters, right, Masi? He's
No,
the older
yes,
gentleman, more
yeah,
conservative.
yeah. No, I take the position of New Zealand first. I've supported him. I've actually met him and invited him to come speak at one of our workplaces. He's done a lot. He comes from the position of, like many of our Polynesian islands that's been colonized. He comes from the understanding that we need to work with what we got. We can't dwell in the
On the
past
past.
on the
Yeah.
past, because you're never gonna grow and get better opportunities for your people, and that's the mindset he's gone.
Mm.
The Maori mindsets, it's very angry in a sense of they feel like they still dwell in the past and the injustices, and that's kind of like their arena they're always coming from. So that's the two conflicts, and I'm just saying I'm more of the position that you need to just move on, do what you have here. I mean, the thing is, and this is just my interpretation, same thing with the Hawaii stuff, the
Mm,
people in Hawaii, if you really want to go independence, then that you literally have to. There's already thousands of people from Asia, thousands of Palangis from Europe here. There's already, and they're the majority. I think the percentage of actual Maoris here in New Zealand is 14% of the population. You already have Asians probably surpass the Maori. They're probably third, and then the Palangi. So it's
Mm.
it's a very difficult thing, in my opinion. If there were going to be independence, it should have
Mm.
been done in the 1900s, in that time. But when you get things been ingrained with the function of society, how it goes, and then you're dealing with other people who've already mass migrated to New Zealand, it's very difficult to kind of achieve that. So
yeah.
the only Pacific island that's achieved that is Samoa, Western Samoa, and they did it at that time, which was much easier, kicking the British. That was New Zealand, and they were having their independence. Much easier to do it that time than to do it now, when you have a system that's been going through many generations, and then now you're involving generations of people from other countries that's already created their homes here. So
Well, and the thing is, Masi, I know you're saying that the Asian slash Indian will include the Indians in the
yes,
Asian community. They're going to be a bigger voting bloc than the Maoris if
yes,
they're not
yeah,
already. So really, like you're saying, it's looking at the situation now, trying to bring up these grievances when they don't have the voting power. It's kind of
yeah,
a lost cause. It's a little too late, as they
yes.
say. A day late and a dollar short to try and bring a lot of these grievances back.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
and the Maori people are been split with people supporting these, and some, of course, some Maoris feel like injustices and stuff have been happened. Like every indigenous people. This is not unique to New Zealand. This is in
Yeah.
Hawaii too, and
Mm.
other places. But and to me personally, before I even blame other ethnicities, I always look within your own people. And like I said, Maoris should have been very careful not to write that treaty of Waitangi, believing that the Palangis were going to keep to it. And
Yeah.
they made two treaties, one in Maori, one in English. They
Now
should
there's
have.
controversy on which it's you see, and that's the thing. It's hard enough when everyone has one same contract to agree on and interpret it. Now you have two different languages.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So like Lolo is saying, sounds
yeah,
very similar to the Hawaiian situation, right?
yeah,
Mm.
There were multiple languages there. Quick question from Lolo: is she on the left? I'm assuming yes. She's in
yes,
New Zealand.
yeah.
And then Malo Yako, welcome. Malo,
Oh,
thank you for joining
Uh-huh.
us.
Welcome.
And Clymore, a difficult mess to untangle. Some argue that some tribes didn't sign the treaty, which is true, but these same tribes have already taken treaty settlement. So,
yeah,
we were having a discussion about Ukraine. When Ukraine had the nukes, that's when they should have been more aggressive in their negotiations. They gave up their nuclear arsenal. Now they're not really
fighting
in
the
a
war.
strong position to
Mm,
negotiate, right? So it's kind of
mm.
challenging depending on where you are. I think I'm sensing. Oh, go ahead, Masi. You had a comment.
No, just with Clyde Moore's comment with the the New Zealand tribes that signed the treaty, majority of them were the bigger ones. There were some smaller ones that didn't sign, but the majority, like the bigger tribes, signed that treaty. And yeah, but like even after after that, there was this thing that called the Waikato Wars, that the Tainui, which they have like a king and stuff, they actually fought back against the British. But the sad thing is, and this is one of my conversations with another person that represents the Tainui tribe, that they asked for help from the northern tribe that was the powerful tribe, which is Ngapuhi, to ask to come and help. But some of the Ngapuhi did not want to recognize Waikato because they established a king Itanga,
Not enough
and
unity. Yeah.
enough unity. And there's, to me, my personal opinion, there's not enough conversations within that needs to be shed light. That, like I said, I never before, I'm always gonna look at us Polynesians, your own people, what could have done better before you start blaming injustices from the Palangis coming or the Asians or whatever. Always look, there's always something that you could have done better as a people, and
Mm.
not to fix that before you kind of say injustice here and there. But
Mm.
yeah.
No, 100%. I think I'm getting a flavor of where tonight's Kava session, digital Kava session is going to go. So I found another. What is that? Go ahead, Maka.
Go ahead, Maka.
Not a question. So I was just thinking, hypothetically, because I know each situation will be unique to each island, but do you think like each respective island in Polynesia, you think if they did according to their situation, but if they pretty much did exactly what Tonga did in those times, do you think they'd be where Tonga is today, or what do you think? Just hypothetical, just
Mm,
a thought.
yeah. I feel like it would, because if you think about it, there was only the only ones that really came militarily and took over the islands was Hawaii with coming in, but that was that was one occasion. And Waikato wars, some of that. But I feel like even before that, if you had a set of laws and a written document stating this
Mm,
is the like your rule of law, a
mm,
lot of the Palangis would have to function under that, and it would be
mm,
very. I Would it mean that it will be is today? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't, because I think there will probably be some maybe that will still kind of be colonized, but most I don't think would have been colonized. That's just from me, because
mm,
if Tonga did it with the same amount of landmass and same amount of resources as many of the other Polynesian islands,
mm.
so Tonga can do it, the other Pacific islands can do it. But the
Yeah,
the difficult thing is, was that knowledge, and
yeah.
not many of those people in those islands had that knowledge of self
Mm,
governance. But
yeah.
that's just
Just
me.
a Malo for the response. Just hypothetical. Just sometimes in fight Kava, you just like throw out stuff out there and kind of just.
Yeah,
See what everybody. Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's some. Yeah.
I
Go
see the
ahead, Maka.
difficult thing is like we said, because a lot of them, like you said, they weren't united, or somebody
mm,
didn't unite them, so that's what made it
mhm,
difficult. But I was just thinking, let's just say if they were all united and kind of, but just unique to their each individual situation when the
yeah,
colonizers came, whatever their
yeah,
situation might have been different, and of course, like coming to today, it might be different, but just a
Yeah.
thought, just
yeah.
an
No,
idea.
100%. 100%. Go ahead, Masi.
No, and I was gonna just to add on to what Maka was saying. Back in those days, the rule of law was a huge deal for the Western society. I mean, that's what governed them. So
Mm,
once they see a document that's been ratified by, let's just say, whatever the local government was in that
mm,
island, they had to abide by those rules, because
mm,
their reason for colonizing the Pacific Island was to civilize. They were
Yeah.
mm,
not civilized, so that
yeah,
was like their main. That's what made them feel good. And even the missionaries and people who came to do things, it was fine to colonize because it was for the betterment for the people, kind of
yeah,
thing. And that's what made them feel good in their conscience to do
mm,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
No, 100%. And there's a couple interesting things because Hawaii had a constitution, Tonga had a constitution. I can't, maybe we'll find the video later, but Kamehameha III was very religious. He tried to implement something similar to what Tupou the First was doing, right? Where
mm,
Yeah.
God was at the head, where the Tonga, the Hawaiian Constitution said you can't create a law that was against, the scriptures and the law of God. So there was a lot of religious fervor there, and Tonga is just so many things could have gone wrong, and for one reason or another, Tonga was able to survive, right? Because the unity part is very critical. Because Tupou the First, and I didn't realize this until we had some of these conversations here. I used to think like, oh man, Tupou the First was just in the driver's seat the whole time. You know what I mean? Like he knew what he was doing, he knew what was going on, and then you sit back and you look at the unity perspective, and then you say, dude, Laufiri Tonga could have easily undermined Tupou the First. Right? Because of this unity factor, kind of like what Masi was expressing between the different tribes in New Zealand, where they weren't unified. The fact that they were fractured gave opportunity for colonization because they couldn't get unified to form a government and then to keep that government. Like one of the examples that we mentioned quite a bit here is, let's play out this scenario, right? Tupou the First is struggling to put together a constitution and a government. And then he is with the Methodists. Laufiri Tonga is with the Catholics. There's already tension there, right? So you can see two religious powers that are tied to governments and politics at tension. Wouldn't be surprised if the Catholic priests were like, dude, you're the Tui Tonga. Why don't you challenge this guy? Right? Like, who is this guy? He got voted in, right? He got voted into the Tui Kanukupolu. If Laufiri Tonga challenged Tupou the First, I would almost say we would be guaranteed to be colonized. Even with the government, even with the constitution, even with all these things, they were just looking for opportunities, like Masi was saying, is, hey, look, they're doing their best to form a government and have a constitution, but they can't get along, so we'll have to take over to civilize them and teach them how to be, quote unquote, gentlemen to each other. So it's really a unique situation for Tonga. It's just, really, it was a God-given gift. Especially when you look at Hawaii, they were trying to be religious as well. It's very interesting. Tonga is an anomaly. Very crazy. Very crazy, very blessed situation. But I think if God was in charge, I think everyone could survive. But for whatever reason, it just didn't happen that way.
Just to touch on, I'm not trying to steer our
no, go for it. Go for it,
but so I had a question just to see what your guys is and again, it's, to me, everything is open to interpretation as far as like depending on what info you got as far as like historical records or whatever. But so how you so how they talk about for example, like because I think I kind of understand where you guys are coming from, but like they talk about, like, for example, like the Battle of Velata. Like, did that actually happen? Was that an actual battle? Did Tupou Uraki actually defeat? You know what I mean? Like, you always hear about this kind of stuff, but we can only go according to what's written, oral tradition, oral history, what we find in the records. Was it an actual? You know what I mean? Just when you mentioned that, I just thought of that. Like, is that an actual? Is that something that actually took place, or
what happened? What's the story behind it? Well, go ahead, Tua, because I think we kind of mentioned, and I think you kind of you brought up that there's two accounts.
Yes, this is where it goes. Who writes the history?
Yeah, depending on who's
usually the winner. Usually the winner, right? Because there are some rumors, because a lot of people try to claim that Taufa'ahau never lost a battle, right? And that he was undefeated, and that is a very powerful thing in politics, where you can say, no different than Donald Trump. It's very convincing when the guy gets shot in the ear and he survives. It's hard to deny, to be like, oh man, is this the hand of God here? You know what I mean? That seems to be somewhat similar to what people were saying about Taufa'ahau. He's obviously chosen by the God because he's never lost a battle. But then rumor has it the Catholics say Laufiri Tonga actually won. right? So there's these competing ideas of who actually won. Obviously, the most well accepted is Taupaha won, but he also became the king and the most powerful person. Is that because that's the narrative that helped him gain power and maintain unity within the country? It's interesting, right?
Yeah,
But
it is.
let's
None of
go
us were
through the
actually there.
comments.
We don't know the details.
Exactly. We weren't there. But let's kind of catch up because we're gonna go quickly fall behind on the comments here, but I don't want to get too far. Here's right here from Clymore in regards to Maka's comment. They may not exactly be where Tonga is, but they would definitely have a different outcome. I agree. And the unity, I think, is a big part of that. Because it seems like a lot of them tried, like we're saying, like Hawaii, but there seems to be a lot of power struggles. And I think there's also advantage of being small, right? Tonga is not huge. When you look at New Zealand, one of the biggest challenges of New Zealand is the bigger the land, the more difficulty it is to achieve unity, right? And so Tonga, maybe there's a reason why our ancestors chose Tonga. It seems to be a good balance of fertile land, good docking area for ships. And when you look at like Tongatapu, because it curves inward, you could get very easily to anywhere on Tongatapu. You go to Samoa, that was one of the first things I noticed in Samoa. It's very isolated in pockets of ice because of the mountains. And even when you come on the ocean, there's some pretty rough areas. You can't just bring up a ship all around the island. It's a lot of rough areas to bring in. So there may be a specific reason why our ancestors chose Tonga. Maybe it provided certain geographic advantages as well. I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Or if not, we'll keep going down the comments.
No, that's pretty good.
Yep, our own people had a hand in the Palangi takeover here. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. Hey, J-Mac, welcome.
Hey,
I'm not familiar with you, but welcome to tonight's Kava session. But yeah, I think what J-Max mentioned is the unity. If we could be unified, when you're unified, it's hard. When you're not unified, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Here's another one is, what do you say to those who say Tonga wasn't colonized because of the lack of natural resources? I know that's a common, criticism. Any thoughts, Masi or Maka, on that question?
No, I mean, Tonga has everything what Samoa has, what what Tuvalu, what's all these smaller ones? There's like
Niue,
a lot of the French Polynesian islands that's all around Tahiti and Marquesas. So I mean, they all have the same resources. And like I said, it was just Tonga was just ahead of the game, and that was the only reason why they were ahead of the game is because of the past times of their ancestors just governing from way before, and that was the leg up. So that's just my thoughts there.
Any thoughts on that, Maka?
I mean, the way we ended up was because, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like it's a cop out answer, but it was, I mean, everything happens for a reason. It was just meant to be, and like Tonga, I think a lot of people, especially I don't want to generalize it, but I know a lot of people in the Polynesian community, when we speak about Tonga, I know there's a few that say Tonga took the easy route out, accepted the colonizer's way and whatever. But I think they fail to realize, how we're just talking about, we've been talking about unity, right? I think if they look deeper into Tonga's history, there was a lot of internal strife, we had a lot of our own civil wars, but still to end up the way we ended up, it just, there's a reason for that, There's a lot of different factors that go into play, and like it was very in Tonga they say it was like real fragile for a long time. You had a lot of civil wars, but we came out on top, I feel, because the right people came into power, and whether you agree, Laufey Tonga gave it up or whatever, at the end of the day, we still stayed, for a lot. I mean,
a W is a W.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
And,
that'll take. We could dive into that for like a week straight. Like, but
yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah,
100% agree. Tonga did bring some strategic advantages, especially with Vava'u, with a
mhm,
yeah.
very good
Tonga is
natural harbor. And for
yeah,
England, a
yeah,
natural harbor in the middle of
yes,
the Pacific Ocean
yeah,
is very critical for a big navy. So
mhm,
there were definitely some advantages, and boy did they try,
yeah,
right? They did
and,
try. They were
and that just
trying all the time.
that brings to mind when remember when Cook depending on who says which final that Cook talked to. Some say it was Tuiha Fatai. Some people say it was Ukalararuaki. Some people say it's whoever it was. Remember, he asked if there's any harbor in Vava'u, and they say, "Oh no, there's nothing. You can't." It's the harbor. I don't know if you remember that in the Mariner's book or if you ever read it, but like that just shows that the Tongans knew that what we had. You know what I mean?
mm,
Yeah,
They said,
mm, mm,
"No, there's
mm.
nothing in Vava'u. There's no harbor there. There's no place to land there." So, but they don't even know Vava'u was probably one of the most like,
Best places
you
to
know what I mean?
harbor
Yeah,
ships. Yeah,
yeah.
by far. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. That's funny.
Hey, Malo Lee. So yeah, it looks like in Tonga used Hawaii's 1853 Constitution to base Tonga's Constitution. So we seem to start from the same thing but different outcome. And
Mhm.
like you were saying, I can't argue, man. Like we're saying, when we look at how Tonga survived, it was miracle after miracle after
Yeah,
miracle. Hard for one not to say, well, maybe God
Mm,
decided
yeah.
this is what was
mm.
going to happen for Tonga.
Yeah,
And I
no, and
was
then with
go
no,
ahead,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, this, Maka. Like the Hawaii's constitution was good, but I think Hawaii's problem, they had Palangis voted into parliament, and these were like wealthy business Palangis. They had an influence to say certain things, which changed lands to sell to foreigners. Which even up to Tonga now, you know, you can't sell land to a foreigner. It's only like
Mhm.
leased up to 99 years. So
Yeah.
Hawaii had the right intentions, but like it still needed to be further refined to like what Tonga was able to figure it out. But
Mhm.
those are some of the gaps and cracks with the Hawaii's how they went about it. They had the right idea with the constitution because obviously Tonga used that, but how they went about it, like what you said, the outcomes.
Yeah.
That was a big one with having very wealthy Balangis to tell you how to construct. Yeah, that with
Man.
Hawaii's case.
Yeah.
Yeah, not 100%. You had
Mhm.
anything to add to that, Maka?
No, I mean, I think that was I think I hope I don't offend any Hawaiians, but that was probably, they probably just opened up the floodgates when they allowed, some Palangis to own land. And like you were
Mm,
saying, the rich people came in. After that, to me, it was just over after that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
Just a thought from Book of Mormon prophecy: the Lord sent the Gentiles to take over the Lamanites due to iniquity. Do you think the Lord spared Tonga because it dedicated the land to him? I don't know. Just a thought. That's a fair point. Fair point.
mm, mm,
We look at that, and some people who kind of criticize the position that we take sometimes on the podcast. We take the position that Hikuleo is Jehovah, right? And we believe that, and we look at something like that, like Tupo the First does, as evidence that there's something more going on, and that the old ancient religion before it was corrupted
mhm.
is the same Christianity that we have now, just like the Lamanites had the Book of Mormon and knew God, but they corrupted it and forgot him.
mm,
But yeah, I think Tupo the First giving it to God, because Tupo the First understood this is almost an impossible task, right?
yeah,
And he says, if there's going to be someone that helps us, it's going to be the guy upstairs, because we don't see a path to maintain our freedom. And so he says the guy upstairs is the one that's going to save us. Any thoughts on that? On the comment, I'll just bring it back up for a reference, and
mm,
how Tupo the First dedicating not just the land, but the people.
People.
Because
Yeah.
those are the
yeah,
two things because the land can be blessed and another person come and take the land and live on the land. But Tupo the First said, dedicated the land and all the people that would inherit it.
yeah.
Mhm.
My quick thoughts are, I feel like we always talk about luck. Sometimes, and luck in a sense that you need good luck to have some good things fall your way, and that was the divine luck that obviously dedicating the land and the people was not the end of the work. You have to work, actually put the work in, which is construct a constitution. Also, being able to have a transitional power that there won't be any more domestic chaos with the Tuitonga and with the current Tuikon Polu, which was Taufahau. Making sure you needed so much luck to also happen to in order for you to execute, and I feel like that luck was that divine. I mean, I
Intervention.
believe,
Yeah.
yes, I believe that definitely that was how God played his part on preserving Tonga, but at the same time, Taufahau had to put in the work to actually make it happen, because it doesn't come out of nowhere without any work behind it. But that's just me.
Yeah, Marlo. Yeah, what comes to mind to me is whatever ideas we have of Tonga's origin as far as like religion or whatever goes. I think we can all agree that by the time it came to Daofahao's time, before the Christianity eventually became the accepted religion, that Daofahao had no idea what Christianity was. He had no idea who Jehovah was.
Yeah.
But there's a reason. I don't know if it's the only reason, but a big factor of him converting is we've all heard the stories where he tested.
Yeah, with Pita V,
other,
right? Yeah.
He tested it, and there's a reason why because he's like, hey, this God here keeps winning. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
No, and that's an interesting point there, Maka, because when we read the scriptures, God doesn't always respond to these prove to me that you're God, right? We've seen a lot of people who said, prove to me that you're God, and they get struck dumb or struck with death. And I think that goes to show two things. It was important enough to both the first and to God that they knew each other, and that God was going to answer those, right? Because there's one where he throws Pita V into a shark-infested area that they knew, like, hey, you really believe in this God? Well, go in here. He swims up, and then the other one is he sticks the stick in the sand where he knows the tide always crosses, and says, hey, if your God is the real God, then this stick will not be removed when the tide comes up. And lo and behold, they come back, the stick's still there. So it shows that maybe the intent of Tupo the First was sincere, right? Because a lot of the people who get struck down is they're antichrist. They're not really interested in knowing whether God is real or not. They're just trying to find a weakness. So I think that's kind of strange and kind of gives a indication that, number one, Tupo the First was sincere, and God was saying, you know what, I need this guy to know, because I need him to do something on my behalf. That's definitely a way you could look at that relationship, which is unusual and rare. And I don't know how or why, but that's what God decided to do. Because when you read the Hawaiians, Kamehameha III, he says, I know God is real, very religious, tries to implement it, but for one reason or another, unfortunately, Hawaii is lost. From Lolo here, so just like Hawaii, they aren't playing the game right. Yeah, and sometimes that's the way to look at it. It is a game. So, hey, Nacho, Masi, some of the guys have concerns na ahu o kihina.
Oi,
Kihikawa.
Kai, vai atata be just that ginger beer na aloe hoa gi show hobbit.
Yeah, we're not going to receipt it. I'm not going to get sealed.
The problem with that receipt, Nacho, is I think it's in Maori. You're going to have to translate. It might be a mau. Might be a mau.
Okay.
Native Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Native New Zealand sound familiar. They're low key, and that's unfortunate, right? Their culture and their country was demolished. And then you just go look at it. Where are the Native Americans and even the Native Hawaiians? I don't know how New Zealand is, Masi, but when you go to the Native Americans and the Native Hawaiians, they put them in the worst places. Yeah. Right? You go to the worst pieces of land in Hawaii, they move them to the less tropic. All the green and beautiful portion, Everybody else has it. And it says, where did they put the the Hawaiians? Put them on the side that's like a desert.
Yeah.
So
Pretty
it's
much
just sad and it's
reservation.
unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Maoris, they still have some good spots here when they finally settled and took the settlements that had, multi-million dollar payments from the government. But of course, it's not enough when you have certain lands that it hits. And I understand it's very emotional when you have lands that your Maori ancestors used to dwell, and it's a commercial housing and residences. Of course, it hurts, but like, it's just, to me, New Zealand would have New Zealand would have been saved. The thing is, the two mistakes I saw was there was no control on immigration. Europeans, they kept letting, because they like what the Europeans were bringing with the alcohol
Mhm.
and a lot of the weapons that were coming in, because they would buy those weapons and give the Europeans land and use those weapons for their tribal wars. So there was no relegation on that. And then the second was having two separate languages when they did that Treaty of Waitangi. You should have
Mhm.
just done it in Maori and then everyone fall in line with that instead of having two different ones. So if to me, if they did those two things, New Zealand would have been a different country to today. That's
Yeah.
Mm,
just my opinion. Just my
yeah.
opinion.
As far as
Um,
my bad, just a little thought out there to Lolo's comment. I think the Native Americans a little different because we do have on record that there were some unfortunate events where some people were just killed at random. That just, you know what I mean, just because the military had the power and they could do it. You know what I mean.
yeah.
Mm,
I'm not saying it happened to every Native tribe, and we all know a lot of them weren't
Yeah.
united, but just a lot of unfortunate events, and
yeah.
and I think the
Yeah.
way I look at it too is like it's hard for us, specifically Tongans, because we've never been colonized
Mm,
to see from their perspective. But the way I like to look at it is, imagine if we were in their shoes, how would we feel today? You know what I mean, kind of
mm,
thing.
Yeah.
So I always try to look at it in that lens, and then kind of like,
Yeah, because it's a very difficult situation to come up in, right? I mean, it's almost the equivalent, I guess. I want to see what your guys' thoughts are, but the thing that comes to mind when you're saying, "Hey, put yourself in their shoes," Maka,
mm,
is that to me maybe would be the equivalent of growing up in a single parent home in a terrible environment. There's
mm,
a crisis of identity, right?
mm,
Which leads to alcoholism, which leads to crime. And then it establishes a cycle, right?
yeah,
Once you inject alcoholism and crime, then there's a cycle that's generational. And then next thing you know, that seems to be the norm. Everybody thinks that's the norm,
yeah,
right? And so
it
it's
becomes
it's a
part of their
very
culture.
difficult thing. Yeah. And
yeah.
we're fortunate that didn't happen, and we can easily forget that, dude. We're blessed, we're fortunate, we need to recognize that, and then have some understanding for those who didn't have
Yeah.
the same opportunities as we did.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure.
And to say every blessing comes with responsibility. And the question,
Yeah.
I guess, arises, what is Tonga's responsibility? Right.
Mm.
And maybe there's something we should be offering or bringing to the table as to what our role and our responsibility is. I don't know.
Well, since we're on a live digital Kava session, where I fight Kava at some my Kalapu here, Fobland 801,
Mm,
we like the general rule of Faikava is, or any Kalapu is, it's open to anybody. You're never supposed to
Mhm.
be picky, and the doors are open. So we've had a couple of natives that come mix with us, like we don't.
mm,
And I thought I could kind of see where they're coming from, but man, when you hear them speak, and again, it's probably just the one individual, or whatever, but you can kind of get a sense of like the
mm,
anger that, kind of maybe similar to Maoris. They just hold on to it, and again, I can't be unsympathetic and just like
mm.
push it aside. But when you actually mix with them fight Kava and then it just starts to come out, it's kind of sad to see. But
It's tough.
I think one purpose of the fight Kava is kind of like, hey, we're here for you, brother. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
get it out, and then as Tongans, we'll show you our culture. Like, we'll just welcome you with open arms, and we're here for you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And what makes it really frustrating for me sometimes is political or politicians leverage that pain and suffering to
mm,
control certain groups, right? instead of, because there's two ways to think of this.
The strategy.
Yeah, the past is the past. What's the path forward to help me be successful and my family and the ones that come after me? What is that path? Well, it's been generations of victimhood, 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 and it seems the cycle's not broken. Where we seem to observe the cycle being broken is, we're not saying deny the past. You can't ignore it. It did happen, but you have to say, regardless of the past, I can change my future, and this is how I do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that to me is one of the potential lessons that we learn from Tupo the First and Laufiri Tonga and all these guys. They're like, we can just say this is the way we've always done it in the past, or we recognize we're not in the same world. We're not in the same political and military structure. What's the path forward? And if the path forward, we just finished an interview, recorded interview before we jumped on this live. And the guest said that one of the biggest lessons he learned, he was in a new environment with a new culture, was understand the culture, understand why people behave the way they behave, and then you can figure out how you can leverage it to achieve your goals. Right? To just think, oh, I'm just going to ignore it, or I'm going to just fight against it and stop it. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a different one, a difficult one to win. But any thoughts on that? And then I have a video.
No, just to add on, because I know, like, the Native Americans and stuff, and there's it's good to empathize, so you can always recognize with yourself, what it wasn't an easy thing for our ancestors to do what they did to what we have here, but you empathize what went wrong, and you just give open arms. But at the same time, it's just because I'm in the social service area, and to me, the people that actually move on from their trauma and actually become more productive is when they forgive what happened in the past. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, but you forgive what happened in the past so that you can move on to deal with what's in front of you. And then they become much better citizens. They actually become much stronger and resilient in actually coping with what happened with their trauma in their childhood or whatever happened, because you can't change it. You just do it to forgive what happened and forgive yourself, move forward. And the ones who actually forgive and move on, I find that they are much better to dealing with their trauma from what happened when they were in childhood. And you can apply that same thing with the trauma that's happened to their ancestors. That's what happened to now. You empathize, and you know it is what it is that happened in the past. But in order to move on and to actually help, because your people are still being born to this world right now. In order to help the future generation, you work with what you got now and you move forward. But you can't change the past. But I just thought I'd share.
No, good thoughts, good insights, Marlo.
Yeah, I mean, and just so everyone can, this is not a concept that one would think is so foreign to us, right? What do we say when a quarterback goes out there and they throw an interception? Forget the last play. Work on the next play, right? And we value those people because that's how you move forward. If I sit there, oh my gosh, I threw an interception, and you feel bad for yourself, you're not going to get very far. Right? You're not going to get very far. So these are themes that you find in sports. Like Masi was saying, you can apply it everywhere. So that's something really interesting. Hey, I might appreciate this one. Maka, looks like Lolo says they also have a FOBland over there in Missouri. So I didn't know you guys have chapters across the U.S.
Lolo. Peor que for two in Missouri, but that's local up out here. But yeah, man, FOBland worldwide.
Not 100% here, Clyde Moore, same theme, right? Getting stuck in the negative environment in the past, you can't move on. Water Bear's pretty happy with that example you shared, Masi. Hey, Alex, we may swing around to that. We may come around to that, especially since Pule Melee High School defeated Kahuku. So we may come back to that later on.
58-0.
Ita ikaw Kahuku.
Yeah, more people need to fight Kava because we learn how to forgive each other and sometimes fight you. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
A little exposure to some
Mm,
negative, proper negative, constructive criticism is pretty powerful.
mm,
And that's part of the growth and then growth that we have to go through. I
mm,
found an interesting video that I wanted us to react to, and it goes along with some of the things we're discussing. And this one of the themes that we see come up many times on the podcast as we're having conversations on our history, as we look at certain studies, as we have interviews with different people, um, is we think and we seem to get a feeling like Polynesians have a responsibility. Um, and there's something we bring to the table. And this is an interesting video that I think kind of shares what that could be. And let's bring it here and let's listen to this brother right here. I think he's a Samoan brother. He's like on some kind of show or
okay.
something, and just listen to what he says here.
Yeah, well, strap tight.
You might want to strap me in for this one.
Well, the thing is, based on the experience and the people I've worked with, where I come from, I'm sick and tired of people thinking, specifically, I am mentioning black people, thinking we owe them something, that the world owes them something. I'm totally opposed to affirmative action. I don't want people to give me a job just because I'm brown. I want people to know that I have the credentials. Polynesians don't have a BET. We don't get all pissed off when we don't have an NAACP that comes and
Who's that?
people.
Who's that?
First off, I just want to know where you're from.
I grew up on the island,
Where?
overseas,
Overseas. There's no black people over there.
Where overseas? Like what islands? What are you talking
near the
about?
Hawaiian Islands.
The Polynesian Islands.
I'm a Polynesian, yes.
When did you come to America?
And I live in the South. There are plenty of black people there, and I had quite the opportunity to be able to work with these people. And you know what? No, I won't.
Brother did not mess around. Now,
Ah,
we could possibly argue on the delivery, right? Maybe the delivery was pretty raw and straightforward.
Hmm.
So we can always debate that. But in regards to what is something we can bring to the table in having our discussions with quote unquote other brothers and sisters that are minorities or of color, whatever you want to describe us, right? This brother right here is just like, hey, dude, I'm just another man. I have 2 hands, 2 feet like you. I don't think there's too much of a difference. And I want to be able to perform and be respected as another person. Any thoughts on that, guys, on the video?
ooh, ooh. What you think, Maka? What you think?
Hey man, my man. I go tama fight Kava. I got I don't know.
Mm, mm,
But
mm,
yeah. I mean, from someone who grew up in the hood. I grew up in the hood. You know what I'm saying, in LA, and I seen your stereotype, how they show in a lot of movies. The liquor stores on every corner. But you know what I'm saying? Like guns are illegal, but you see them all over streets. You see, just in impoverished areas, you'll see like the difference. And then when you go across town, night and day, But as a kid, you don't really understand the politics of all that kind of stuff and why this is this way, why this is this way. But pretty much what I'm trying to get to, because I grew up with a lot of, different minorities, especially blacks, Mexicans, like. LA is a melting pot, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Mhm.
So a lot of my friends, I'd go over to their houses and stuff so I could kind of just growing up. I'm not saying that I understand them exactly what they're going through, but I always had a sense of like as a kid, because as a kid, you're just so innocent. You just love everybody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's your friend, you know what I'm saying? But as you get older, you kind of see like, man, it's crazy. But I guess it kind of ties into what we were mentioning earlier with the Native Americans and the Maori and everything, is like we can't go in as far as like what I mean. There's no denial what what our brothers, what the blacks went through with slavery and everything. that you can't deny that. But like what Masi mentioned earlier, I do agree you can't just stay angry and stick to that because at the end of the day, you're not going to get anywhere. Kind of like what that politician in New Zealand is doing. It's kind of like you can kind of use that to fuel you to get to where you want to go as far as like whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever, and use it in a positive kind of way. You know what I'm saying? And politics is the last thing I know nothing about politics, to be honest. But as far as like what you're trying to achieve as a people or whatever, like going back to talking about the Polynesians, what Tonga did, you know, what's our purpose in this whole thing? I don't know if this ties into anything, but for example, something as small as like, for example, like at work, you know, we're sitting here at the table. This is just a cultural thing. We're sitting here at the table and you got a Palangi dude that come sit in the middle of us and just eat a sandwich by himself. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, to us, it's like, man, it's okay. I got wake up Palangi. Man, like, yeah, you know what I mean? But us, it's kind of like, they're sitting there by themselves and they're looking hungry. We grab a whole tray, leftovers or something, we bring over and then we invite everybody. And over time, you start seeing them doing the same thing. It's kind of like, oh man, the polys are just the way they get down and the way they act is like, it's just all love and it's all, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I think we can use that's one aspect of our culture we can probably try to use to help, you know what I mean? Those of us, yeah. Because you know, we got our back home, and I'm sure a lot of other parts in California and different parts of the country where the polys interact with a lot of different minorities. Like a lot of them love to drink kava. A lot of them get down with the culture. Like if you look in LA, you know, a lot of my boys work for Southwest Airlines, and they got a lot of the Uludis that come over and they mix with them, and they kind of just like attach onto the culture and they love it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it's like we can all do this together. You know what I mean? We don't have to stay negative. We don't have to hold on to this. We'll hear you out. We accept it. And then what can we do to help you out to get over your specific day-to-day things? You struggling, we struggling. You know, you got bills to pay, we got bills to pay. We can't forget the past. It might be hard to forgive it, but let's talk about today and move on today. But look, check this out. We're going to do this over a Polo Kava and we'll keep going. You know what I'm saying? We'll just, you know, my bad. I'm just rambling. I think I went a whole
No,
you're good.
That's an important part. I think we have a lot to bring to the table. And there's two things I think we need to worry about. One, have the courage to bring what we bring to the table. Number two, don't lose it, right? Because if we lose that, then we don't have anything to bring to the table that's different. Yeah. If we all just come to the table and say, oh, yeah, I feel sorry for myself too, well, you're not bringing anything to the table because some other people are already bringing that, right? A lot of people, it seems to, for me, you look at it as you bring something to the table by bringing something that no one else is bringing. And seems like people saying, oh, I've been wronged and someone owes me something. That role is already filled. You don't want to take on that role because it's already filled, you know? But I think what we could bring to the table is, hey, look, a real perspective of, yeah, there's been mistakes, but guess what? If Polynesians were in charge of the world, we would have made the same mistakes too. It's not a blame one identity or one group. It's a human condition. I remember I went to the University of Utah. I took an anthropology class at BYU, and there was some kind of Polynesian conference that was going on at the University of Utah. And that's the first time I got exposed to a lady called Haunani Trask. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She's like a big activist in Hawaii. Yeah. And she got up there. She
passed away already, right?
Oh, did she pass away? I didn't know. Okay. So she gets up there, and the first thing she talks about is we need to teach our children who the enemy is. And the enemy is the United States of America. And I was like, what? Who is? And then she goes, you know, she was at the airport. She says, I want to shoot every white person. And I was like, dude, this lady is crazy, you know? And she's talking about all this stuff and how the colonization and said, I was like, what? And then, you know, what really kind of was frustrating to me, I guess, is to see a bunch of Polynesians just like, and I'm like, hold on. Number one, so I waited to the question and answer section. So I put up my hand and I go, man, now that it's really hard. I feel like I'm in a really bad spot because obviously I'm half white, right? So obviously you've labeled my my Palangi side as colonizers and evil. And then I said, but then I look at my Tongan side and everybody says they were colonizers too, because they were going to other islands and so forth. And then I said, my question is, would you consider Kamehameha the Great a colonizer or not? Right? Because it's not like Kamehameha said, whoever wants to be part of my country, please show up. No, Kamehameha said, I'm going to come and smack you around. And if I need to, yeah. So it sounds to me like Kamehameha himself was a colonizer because he was going around and beating people. He said, you either get on the Kamehameha train or die. Yeah. Right? And so I said, I don't quite understand how we're blaming Europeans or Caucasians as this evil group where Tongans were colonizers. Kamehameha the First was a colonizer. And then my question to her was, if Polynesians were the most powerful group, do you think we would only remain in Polynesia? I would say no. I would say that if Polynesians had the most powerful military, the most powerful government, the most powerful economy, technology, we would have expanded. So my point is, this is a human condition problem, not a this group problem or that group problem. Expansion and colonization seems to be a normal outcome of anyone who gains power and influence. And so dwelling on it like, oh, the Palangis wronged me. They did wrong you, but guess what? If I gave you power, I'm pretty sure you would have wronged them. So don't dwell on it. Move forward. Figure out how we can make things better for ourselves.
Yeah.
Nice. Any thoughts? Any comments there?
Yeah. Nah, I was just gonna say with the video of the our Polynesian brother over there. I'm kind of I understand where he's coming from, and definitely agree to the sense. Like to me, always look within your own people, man. Like to me, the Udi Udis, there is a problem of no male figures in the home. Like
that's the big challenge right there.
That's a huge. I think it's crazy. 70% of a black woman
with no father,
is most likely having no father to raise the kids. So to me, I always look within, and then it's not the government, it's not the Palangi's fault telling you. It's like that's a more internal family, your own ethnic group that needs to figure it out. Why is 70% of our own women raising kids by themselves? What's going on? And to me, that's a issue that's spreading, that's causing all these extra things that this Polynesian guy is saying, we don't need this affirmative action to do this or get the NCAA to fix this and that. And that's what he feels like is affecting his lifestyle, because he feels like all the government attention and everything is just trying to help people who are trying to, single family homes from the Udi Udi side. So I can see his frustration there. And to me, like I said, man, I never. It's almost like with yourself when you're having a discussion with your wife and she's saying that she's not happy with you with this and that. You gotta do some self-reflection. It's like, dude, am I doing everything I can to with this relationship and doing everything I can? And that's the same thing with a whole race. You start with your family, then you go with your community, then you go with a national level with your own ethnic race, saying, are we doing what we're supposed to do within our own race to help our own people before we can literally start blaming other races that are affecting us. That's just my thoughts, and maybe the frustration where the Polynesian guy is having, because we're all in America. America is a melting pot for everybody. So yeah.
And I'm gonna look up this video that Water Bear says, because I think I've seen it. But I'm gonna see. I think it's with the Samoan girl who speaks up about affirmative action and how she's somewhat against it. Some comments here, Lolo Tuyaku. Yeah, small kind didn't matter in the grand scale, but I think the point still holds it was small kind because we didn't have the resources. Give us the resources, and trust me, I think our ancestors would have tried to conquer the world.
We had the navigating skills was the top part that time. We just didn't have the weapons to make sure we can carry and enforce our way of life
Yeah.
and others.
I mean, that's-
and yeah,
and we
go ahead,
didn't even
Maka.
have I mean, I know population isn't the most important factor, but even our population, a few hundred years ago, we only had like what 20,000 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a couple hundred years ago. So
Mm.
I mean, there's been like like the UK, they were a smaller population, were able to, but I think our population was even smaller than that. So I don't even think. But yeah, like you said, throw up possibly, hey, we did have a population just a little bigger with the tools and resources.
Yeah,
probably.
And trust me, from what our ancestors had done with the little bit of resources they had, trust me, I think the ambitions would have excelled beyond just Polynesia. Let's see here. People don't argue against their belief as a check. It is hard to work both ways to be true. Justice never goes one way. That's why there's a scale in reference to justice. It represents balance and equilibrium. Yeah. And you got to look at both sides. Like Masi was saying, is don't just look at the other person that you're trying to blame. Look inward a little bit more. Looks like a comment here from Lolo Finau told Mariner if he had Britain's military. Exactly. Right? That's a reality right there. If Ukalala's ambition, is that
it was not going to only be Tongatapu. He
wanted
the whole continent.
And I think to add to that, I think also in the book, Mariner did mention that that Finau would have made a perfect, if he was in England, he would have made a perfect like warlord. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not
like a
100%.
Napoleon France with the whole military background went to power.
Yeah, see, like right here, seems like the consensus, everybody's kind of thinking the same. Yeah, man, if we had iron and we had the technology, we would have been doing all kinds of stuff. Here's a comment. Hey, welcome, Matafa. We should look up fatherless rate in Africa. If it's higher than the US, doesn't that mean it is a result of slavery and discrimination? Well, my initial response to that, Mataafa, is yes. The fatherless rate, I think, in Africa is lower. But the question is, right after slavery and even during slavery, the fatherless rate was like less than like 5%, even during slavery.
It was less than the Palangis, from what I've heard with the stats.
And then it was, according to some of the things I've read, is once the government, quote unquote, started helping, quote unquote, the minority community, then the fatherless rate started to explode. Right. And so that's the question. We should be asking ourselves, just because someone says I'm here to help you, doesn't mean that they're there to help you, right? You got to ask yourself, why are you helping me? Are you being sincere, or are you saying, hey, you want to manipulate me and control me, right? If the mafia guy shows up and he says, hey, you want 50 grand? He doesn't want to give you 50 grand. What he wants is to control you and to have you owe him something. So just because someone is showing up there and saying, yeah, let me help you and give you 50 grand, be very careful. Uncle Sam is the same way. Let's see. Question, please. Is there any stories in Tonga about a sunken homeland in the Pacific? Our ancestors tell us about Aotearoa to Hawaii to Rapa Nui. I'm not very familiar with that question or comment, J-Mac. From an oral history, I have seen some videos that talk about a lost continent, and that basically where New Zealand is now are the mountaintops of that continent. I've heard that. I'm not familiar with any oral stories. I don't know if Masi or Maka have heard some oral stories behind that.
No,
same as you. Yeah. No, same as Maka and you, Tuan. Not that I know of. My bad, J-Mac.
Okay, right. Maloi Yako says, looks like a quote. I don't know who Kiba Lion is. Anybody know who that is?
I have no idea.
But he says, the all is mind, the universe is mental. 100%. If you have the right mindset, that's a big part of the battle, you know. So, but all islands are mountaintops, unless you're a coral reef, Lolo. Coral reefs are not mountaintops.
Right.
No, there's a little bump in Tongatapu, a little hill. That's a mountain over there.
Hey.
Dude, I will say this. That's what I love about Texas. It reminds me of Tonga because certain parts are just flat as a pancake, right?
Yeah.
And my wife's like, "This is so boring. I don't see any mountains." I'm like, "Dude, this is my kind of geography,
Yeah.
you know, where I can just look."
Marco, we from Vavau. We always I don't know if we'll buy to Vavau. We're like, man, that's why.
Because you guys got some hills there, huh? Since
Yeah.
it's some more geography. Oh, it's a esoteric book. Okay.
Right on.
Let's see here. We're trying to catch up here and keep up with the comments. We are the Uri Uris of basically. I'll never forget walking. It's, you know where the Stratosphere is in Las Vegas. There's a right in front of the Stratosphere. There's like a Las Vegas Boulevard, and I forgot the name of the road it intersects with, but it's that road. It cuts right through the neighborhoods there. And I was walking one time with my companion, and then this old school Marine, right? He's got his Marine flag, now without a shirt, with a big fat cigar, sitting on his porch, right? Sitting on his porch, and he's got glasses on, and he's just sitting there with he's got a cold beer, and then he tips down his glasses and he goes, "You gotta be the biggest Mexican I've ever seen," you know? And he takes out his cigar, and I crack up, and I walk up to him, you know, as a missionary, and say, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" He goes, "You know, where are you from, man?" And I said, "Oh, I'm actually from the South Pacific." And homeboy goes, "Oh, you're one of them island niggers, huh?" Cracking up, man. I was like, that's what Mataafa as a comment reminds me of when I said, "We're the Uli Ulis of the church." It's like that guy. "Oh, you're one of them island niggers." I was like, all right, I've never heard that before, but okay.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
First time for everything.
Exactly. 100% Clyde Moore. That's what they're saying, that ancient land of Mu. So interesting. Oh yeah, ni Maka. The Germans love the mountaintops of Vavau.
Oh yeah,
they thought it was the Alps from Europe.
Hey, it's the other way around. We love the Germans.
Hey, it's all about perspective, right? Did the Germans love Vavau, or did Vavau love the Germans? Which one?
It's like, welcome. Welcome.
I guess I did see one of the comments earlier, and I guess we can kind of dive into a little bit. I know, if we want to go in a different direction, but it seems like, there's a big election coming up this year, right? And it's strange to me that we're living in a time where one of the candidates no one has ever voted for. Literally, no one has voted for this candidate, and there is a real good chance that that's someone that will become president. Any thoughts on that? Like, does that sound like weird? What is that picture okay with you guys, to think like she ran for president against Joe Biden, nobody voted for her? This primary coming into the presidency, nobody voted for her, and yet she's the candidate, and if all the polls are true, she's now the favorite. And does that sound weird, or what? What is everybody's thoughts on that?
What's your thoughts, Maka?
Man, I mean, I don't know if it's because it causes a lot of people. I hear people arguing all the time about politics. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm probably the last person to ask about. I need to get into it because I got cousins who just barely got into it like last year, and they know everything about politics now. You know what I mean? They're like, hey man, you got to look into it. I know it's important to look into, but man, I'd probably be the last person to comment on it because I don't really know what's really going on right now as far as like the candidates and stuff like that. But just from that being said, from someone like me, it just sounds crazy though, because it's kind of like people getting desperate, or I don't know.
Yeah, it just because that's never happened before, right? Like that's strange. I mean, and Mataafa's point here is establishment can make anything happen. That's a little concerning, right? Because are 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 we now saying that we don't need to vote to get our candidates? Well, that doesn't sound like democracy, or even better, it's a republic. We aren't in a democracy, but
Yeah,
we're kind of used to using that term.
yeah.
But I know Uncle Donald usually sends Masi a text every once in a while for political advice. But Masi, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Man,
Well,
man.
I'm just living in two different countries in New Zealand. I'm kind of involved in the politics here. I'm happy that we got the New Zealand first, which Winston Peters is that Maori guy that I'm a big supporter of. He's in a
Mm.
coalition with the National and the ACT Party, but things are going much better in New Zealand. I've started to notice the cost of living is actually going down especially with gasoline, petrol, and stuff here. So I'm involved there, and I'm happy here. It's just my other country over there in America. It is crazy. It is crazy that she was literally put in. She only has about 2.5 months to vote, and she was not the front runner. And she was there to substitute somebody who had the most ever votes than any other election.
80 million votes,
80,
reportedly.
yeah. And 2.5 months to campaign, and she's and that's the funny thing. Even just to be close, from what the polls are saying, and being the favorite, that is mind blowing. And it just says to me, like I said, man, America's in this time that if people just sit there and let things happen, it's only these things are gonna keep happening until it becomes life and death kind of thing. And things don't happen. Things don't jump from A to C. There's always a B, and before you get to C, and before we get to C, which is could be maybe bloodshed. Um, People are then unfortunately life is gonna be threatened, and it's just crazy because the rule of law seems like it's not happening within the country. There's a lot of bypassing and a lot of maneuvering happening, and it's unfortunate. But like I said, without America, there's some bad people that's gonna more things that will happen. But when America can't be that beacon of light for
Mhm.
other countries that keep other countries in check, man, it's gonna be crazy for even even up to us all the way here in the South Pacific. It's gonna affect us. So, I just hope things get sorted out. Hey, to me, if Kamala wins fairly, hey, that's
So
no
be it.
complaint. So
Yeah.
be it. But if there's like I think Mataafa mentioned establishment running the country because good people are not doing anything, hey, then there's gonna be some bloodshed happening. Unfortunately, we don't want to see that, but hey, freedom is not free, and there's going to be some fortunate chaos. That's what it looks like we're heading towards.
Yeah, let's not hope the business party is a real thing. Or
Yeah. Hey, Masi, we're getting a different analysis here from JMac. So
Okay.
JMac's position is now, brother, it's gotten worse here in Aotearoa. The same government are removing Maori names, councils, and more, basically going full Palangi. But everyone is feeling it here. No more middle class.
I don't. I would see. I take a different position because I know when the other government was in, we're talking about gas being over $3 a liter. Over $3 right now. I just checked
That's
my thing.
crazy.
It's $2.53, and this government hasn't reached a year yet. So they've cut a lot of spending and taxes. So to me, that's what I'm saying. Cost of living, it's it's only been hard because inflation was really bad here in New Zealand. So they had to cut a lot of these bureaucracy, which was funding other agencies. They had to make those decisions and cut it because the government we just didn't have the money. We were overspending from our budget. So that's what I'm seeing and what the government is doing. See, with the names, like I said, the party I voted for, they're in a coalition thing, and if they change, and that's the thing. It's a Palangi name, and they're going for Palangi, but the Maoris want to keep the Maori name. See, I don't. That's up to them. That wasn't a big thing. I was focused more on the cost of living. I'm seeing the difference going over $3 a liter, going now to 2.53, and that's what I see is an improvement from what the last government. So that was my big thing. The changing the names and stuff, that's kind of more secondary, but primarily was more of the cost of living from what I see.
Hmm.
But that's just my
And that's a big consideration for me here in the U.S. My grocery bill, man. Like everybody's like, oh, 20%. Dude, my grocery bill has almost tripled in the
Mm.
last 3.5 years. Right. And I'm just like, dude, that's painful. That's
Mm.
extremely painful. And it starts with energy, right? If energy is cheap, there's a trickle down effect because it takes energy to make products, it takes energy to distribute the products, and then it takes energy to consume those products. So if you
Yeah.
address energy by itself, that seems to be a pretty powerful way to drive down costs.
Hmm.
Mm.
Looks like there's definitely some opinions on Kamala Harris. Water Bears, I remember this exact comment from last
Oh,
night.
what a
Did you
race.
copy and paste? But
Hey,
the sad truth is, unfortunately, this is true. Like this is not even like it's funny, right? But it's extra funny in a way and sad because it's very true.
in a political sense, it's literal.
This
Mm.
is a literal thing.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. So, any thoughts on that? Oh, here's another one.
I'm gonna get Elo IE Water Bears.
Elon, from the internet or from direct experience?
Mm. Mm.
And here's the other interesting thing.
Oh, yo,
Kamala went from Indian, and then now everybody's saying she's black.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey,
this is kind of crazy kind of talk.
Hey,
hey, it's
whatever
almost
get the votes, huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's almost it's funny, hey, when it's election time, then you see the politicians showing up at church, participating in the service and stuff, but they're only Christians when it's election time, but everything after that they vote everything anti-Christian
yeah,
and create bills that are anti-Christian. But
Man,
it's just funny with Nacho's comment that she's only
yeah,
black when it's election time.
yeah. When,
no,
when it's
no,
convenient, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Let's all right, guys. I'm there's a lot of chats and a lot of comments here. I'm going to try and touch as many as I can. Looks like Jose. Hey, welcome, Jose, to the digital Kava session. Seems like he's clearly declared where he stands on the political spectrum there. Kind of like what we're discussing. Masi, you mentioned he thinks it's not only going to affect America, it's going to affect the whole world.
Mm.
So it's crazy. And like J Mac, gas down, prices ran up, more lines for government aid. That's true. Hopefully there's a trickle down effect with that.
Mm. No, just with the JMax comment I just watched the news last week and stuff. They actually, for the first time, that the food prices actually went down like 1% or 2%. But you can find an article and I can message to Tua if you want to bring it up. But I know
Yeah.
there's the food prices actually come down because there is a correlation between energy because you got to move food everywhere, and then that food prices will eventually drop down.
Hmm.
But
Marcy, I got a question. Is New Zealand kind of similar? Like here in America, where different regions cost a little more than other. You know what I mean?
mm,
There's certain
mm,
areas that are a little more expensive
yeah,
than others, depending where you live. It's like that
yeah.
out there. Okay.
Yeah. So like technically like Christchurch, which is the south based in the South Island, tends to be a lot cheaper than Auckland area,
Mm,
which is
mm,
with the North Island. So just because different local governments have different
mm,
less tax, some has less regulation, less taxes, so things
mm,
tend to be more affordable. And I'm
mm,
actually starting to notice a shift of some Polynesians actually being brave, making the move to the South Island to Christchurch, because
really?
majority of the Polynesians come to Auckland stay in Auckland because you know, like most Polynesians, if they can make it to be close to the main airport to go back to the islands to visit family, they'll try to make it. But I'm starting to notice some Polynesians are making a move to the South Island where it's affordable
Yeah.
and just more money in their pockets that they can do
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want. But yeah,
Mm. I know. Mahalo.
yeah, alrighty, alrighty.
TN4. Hey, Masi, I'm asking for a friend. How much is an ounce?
Hey, you know the same one for a baggie or pangawano ke wanima kita tao be mo Amerika.
Yeah.
For you wano be go wanima e ki me
Yeah.
ke ki ifi.
Hey, what up, Bears?
Si
What up, Bears? You're supposed to be the one that we shouldn't have to filter. You're the head of the PR for our digital Kava session. I trusted you. It's like, oh, Kava Bears is gonna take care of our communications. Okay, regret tama click ho fehui Wara Bears.
So she bangally di Water Bears.
Hey, no, Water Birds is only saying that because he knows that ki mahaki ogu ke ngawe aki me go yeah. So he's allowed to ask because he's kind of sick. Prescription. Hey, Waterbergs, show us your prescription and all good. All good, Waterbergs.
Yeah, it seems like there is a pretty big flow of Tongans to Texas.
Same thing, affordability.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's really what's driving it. It really is. I mean, that's the reason why I'm here, right? I mean, part of it is the weather. It's good for some of my wife's challenges, but also cost of living is a bigger deal. That's why I'm like, dude, if I'm struggling here in Texas, how is everybody else surviving? I mean, even Utah's getting up there, Maka. I mean, every time I go to Utah, it's like prices keep going up and up and up.
When I first moved out here, it's just everything is, I mean, traffic, cost of living, everything, housing. You know, my house like 10 years ago was almost triple now. You know what I mean? So,
Wow.
I don't know if that's a federal thing or not, but it's crazy, man.
Oh, shit. Water Bears. He's just suffering from the G unit. Si Kataki Water Bears. I suffer from the G unit as well, so I can understand now.
Pain relief.
Hey, oku kauti mo hey, Clyde Moore. Oku kaki ke kauti. Kung foi me avó when you kau mo Clyde Moore ye kauti. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting. I just I'm like Masi said, and kind of like what we discussed earlier. At the end of the day, the guy upstairs is in charge, and hopefully we're doing what we should be doing and see what he has in plan for us. But the guy upstairs is in charge. 100% agree. I think this is a phrase that every state, Utah is saying that about Californians, Texas,
Arizona.
It seems like, and this is the interesting thing. We're seeing all the Californians, and even when I was living in Virginia, same thing on the East Coast, right? Virginia, all these Virginians in North Virginia, New York, Philadelphia, all these major liberal cities are escaping. And then it seems like the solution that the politicians have come up with is, I believe this is one of the main reasons why they're opening up the border and making themselves sanctuary cities, because their citizens are leaving, and now they're just bringing in outsiders and filling up those spaces and saying that they're sanctuary cities to maintain their votes in Congress. Because what happens is, technically, I mean, if you counted everybody that left California should have less seats in the House of Representatives, and yet they've only lost a couple. So, but when you do the census doesn't care whether you're a citizen or not. They just count how many people are living there. Yeah. So, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing that we're living with. Yeah, this is one of my concerns too, Matafa, is that I think that's a real reality. You know, the West is kind of struggling right now. It's sad where it is, and Texas is definitely one of those targets that may change.
Texas and Florida, those are always been
Mm.
the two big states targeted by the,
Yep,
you know,
the left trying to
turn,
make
turn
them
it.
purple.
Yeah.
Any other topics? Anything you guys wanted to bring up? Anything else, Maka? Any
Um,
thoughts?
no, just on the politic thing again. I don't want to sound like the ignorant fool on here as far as politics goes, but there is just goes to show the power of media. But I'm seeing like on little clips on social media, even on TV, little commercials and stuff of little ads, even on YouTube, where Kamala's talking. There's a little segment that goes, I don't know if that's reeling people in, but it's like, it says like, I'm going to make it to where, go back to where you only need one job to support you. You won't need multiple jobs. But when I heard that, I was like, I don't care what politician does that. Like if that's the case for whoever it's going to be, I mean, just that little thing alone, if it becomes true. But again, I don't know if it's, you know what I'm saying, propaganda or whatever. But if there's a politician going to do that, I know a lot of people's going to vote for them, you know. But even just that, pushing that out there, especially for the poor communities, they hear that, they're going to be,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, they'll be for it. Yeah.
The thing is there's only been one president where wages have gone up. Donald Trump.
Man.
That's the only one. That's the only one.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare cost of living and wages, growth of wages, he's been the only one. And that's, you know, for me, that's the important thing for me is it's just not feasible for me and cost wise. If we continue on the path that we're on, you're like, man, now we're gonna have to make some serious cuts to the budget, and I don't know how that's gonna happen, you know, and it's tough. You know, you can, you know, come and tell that to me, but dude, you're the vice president of the United States. Why haven't you done that? Why haven't you told that to Joe Biden that that's what we need to do? You know, so it's just tough, and you know, it's just going to be crazy.
No, that's interesting. I mean, that's part of reeling. You know, like I said, there's unfortunate people that, you know, that if somebody says that, they're gonna follow and do. You know, but I'm just saying, great people will always do the study. Oh, does this? Because we all know, we have people who say things. So he's like, "Oh, no, you know,
we all know that guy at Takalapu.
Yeah, we all know.
The best story guy.
Yeah, it's not. You can even bring that to make it more closer. It's you have people like that in your own family, you know, in extended relatives. You don't have to go at the fight Kava to figure out. Like it's if you can't figure that out, then alupeo, you know, fighterija or firi and stuff. But you know, hopefully people just understand, like, you know, just do just a little look if this is a true intent, because all you can do is what they've done in the past. To me, I mean, that's how you kind of do your best pick. But I mean, yeah, what Maka is saying, I mean, that's what they're doing, and people will fall for it and go ahead and go and take their word for it.
Yeah, and people can laugh at it or whatever, but little prayer goes a long way, right? Because we don't know. We don't know the future. We don't know where someone is telling the truth or not. Say a little prayer and just say, hey, I don't know everything, but let me know what I should do. And hopefully, you know, exercise some faith, and hopefully we come out with a good outcome from the election. So one thing I did want to talk about, Maka, was you know, kind of get the feedback, kind of like your perspective with that Salt Lake, Kava Lake City, kind of what you're hearing. How did that go? I know you were out of town, but what was there what's been the feedback from your friends who went, or just kind of the chatter kind of in your neck of the woods, how that went, what people thought about it, and just kind of talk about that?
Well, I don't know if you guys were aware that last year they had a big event in Arizona.
No. So this is not the first year.
No. This was Salt Lake's event, their version of that event, of a similar event. It's pretty much just like what do you call it? Man, what's the term? Kind of like they got like Comic Con for like the for the
A convention. A convention.
convention. Yeah. So they had one in Arizona called Valley of the Roots, and then they had people from Salt Lake, everyone from all over Huagalapos to just show up, And then Salt Lake was Cabo Lake City. That was their event. But I heard that I heard everything went good. I heard it was a good turnout, and I heard one of my buddies who's president of Galapo out here. I'll shout him out, Toko Strong. You know what I'm saying? What's up? But my boy's the president over there, and he said it got to a point where they kept having to move apparently venues because
not enough space.
Small. Yeah, not enough space. Just to show the volume though of how much people is coming out here and how big, Fight Kava's getting out, like nationwide. So, and even the place they ended up having it at was probably too small too, So, but it was just, I heard all in all, it was great. I heard it was a great turnout, and I mean, again, I was out of town, but just I was at the same reunion my boy was at, but he was just kind of letting us know how it's going. We kept asking him like, "Hey, how's the Cabo Lake City thing?" He was like, "Oh yeah, man, it's good." They said it's packed over there, too many people, too small, but he said it was good though.
Yeah, yeah. I have a video. It looks like their opening ceremony that they had, but Water Bears. Toko, one time my dad lended me some of his gout pills, but he gave me another type of pill on accident. Cialis. Hey, here's a word of caution to all of our digital Kava team members here. Don't take pills that you don't know what they are.
Water Bears, but he took it for real.
Yeah. He says he took it by accident. Yeah, by accident. Yeah.
Hey, Maka, I have a quick question on the Kava Lake thing that happened. Is the purpose just to get all the Kava clubs just to kind of understand what everyone's kind of doing, or is it more just celebrating the root of Kava kind of thing, or what's the or do each Kava club have to register and then pay in to go in?
As far as like the logistics and like the specifics of it, I think the overall reasoning behind it is just
yeah.
Okay, just to get all the Kava
and know all the
recreational and
Okay.
Because I know if you ask every single person, what's your knowledge on Kava, where it came from? Do you know anything about the the Taumafa or Furi Kava? I'm sure you're going to get 1,000 different answers. But I think at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is just fail and get to know each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, because if you notice, most of those people are youngsters. Not too many.
Yeah.
OG Galapagos right there. So
yeah.
That's what I noticed. Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see how this opening event went.
Each and every one of you guys that have a Kalapu.
Oh, wow.
All the leaders in your guys' Kalapu. It's our way of acknowledging you guys. Here at Kava Lake City. We'll make sure everyone has a cup. And it's like a very short version of what we call Kava. We're going to do a very short version and just kind of make it fit us. So, yeah. Just give us a moment to make sure we have stuff for everybody. And then I'm going to pass it on to Paul West. He's going to carry on.
that's my boys right there.
Maria.
I mean, yeah, look, there's quite a few people there, man.
That's from all over too.
Yeah.
Mostly the West Coast, of course, but
This
No,
is
that's
Princess
cool.
Sarah. I love you, Mom. Love you.
No, I mean that's cool. It's kind of interesting to see this new revitalization of Kava. I mean, it's it's, I'm sure some people are like, oh, this is bad or whatever, but I was like, no, it's a positive thing. Trust me, man, the youth can find a lot worse things to be involved in.
Yeah,
And I think this is a positive.
Yeah, my bad. Do I cut you off? Just to touch on what you're saying. My opinion on the whole thing is, there's a lot of people who even here in Salt Lake and even back in LA who were, because of, we'll just say, because of the gang culture, who at one point, sad to say, would either try to kill each other, were enemies, or whatever you want to call it, who would never at one point ever hang out with each other. But whether you know the history of Kava or any ceremony or the origin of it or whatever, I think the main factor is it's like a unifying tool. You know what I mean? Brings everybody together is the main point. That's why they're trying to have that, whether you agree with it or not. But it's I mean, with anything, I guess too much of one thing is not a good thing. But I mean, as far as like a unifying tool, like that's part of our culture that we can use to unify ourselves, who at one point were not hanging out with each other, which is kind of like we just adopted this culture, but coming back to our culture and kind of like now we're together as one. But I think that's just my opinion on it, that it's a good thing. But then when it comes down to it in your own little separate circles, I think it's still important. I'm a big believer in just like, I'm a big fan of the Fight Kava, especially with the older guys, where you learn about the culture, ask questions, and what I mean, when it comes to that, because in that kind of a setting, it's kind of too big. But it's just a nice event to come together and get to know all the different kalapus and stuff. It brings everybody together.
Out there. Yeah.
But I think it's still important eventually to kind of, why do we even drink kava? Like, why is it so important? Because, especially in Tonga, it's like everything's done around kava. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Hey, J Mac, have a good evening, Togo.
Hey, J Mac, Malo.
Thank you for stopping by. Here's Lolo saying Kava is literal grafting of the branch roots from one tree into another tree, in my opinion. Very true.
No, I was just gonna add to like what Maka saying with this whole Kava culture. I'm still even learning. Like I told you, Tua, like I only learned this because my older brother from Tonga. There's certain ways like when you go. I didn't know like when he told me we go fight Kava, we were planning to go to like a Wesleyan church, and I was just gonna just a never think, but he asked me to wear a tupenu. He said that's just a etiquette. When you go to a church to fight kava, it's not your typical fofoanga kava or other clubs you can, kava place you can go. But I was like, see, these are the little intricate stuff like that I'm even still learning. And each kalapu kind of has their own kind of way. And that's why I say these things are so good, because each kalapu, you can try to find which one fits you. And there's certain ones, and you like what you mentioned, Maka. There's also different kind of conversations like you can get to be some of the chill and relax, and you listen to music and just kind of everyday talk. I find it at the Fofoanga place, and then like we went to a Faifekau Shashi in Lani. He had it at his place that usually holds it down. That's where you find out more of the like deep into the culture of or what's going on with the social issues going on. Like we talked about like in New Zealand. So I was like, see, these are the things that are important. And the older you get, you might go from one kalapu to another. It's like, okay, maybe I want to talk about something a little bit more, and then maybe I'll come to this one some other times here and there because I still have ties to this kalapu here. So I'm still learning too, and that's why it's pretty cool with what's going on. Because I said more options is always good.
Yeah,
definitely.
And what makes the Kava circles and the kalapus very interesting is you're not like tied down to just one, right? You can have like your regular that you're really, really comfortable with. But like you said, if you want to have a different experience, that's why it's good to meet and see all the other kalapus out there, because they usually are pretty open door, right? If you come over, so like you're saying, Masi, on you have your regular, but hey, let's say, oh, I want to go check out this one. They kind of have a different things that they like to talk about, or different activities. They like to sing more. They like to do more stuff and try. And then when you travel, go to a different state, you can go see what that state talks about and what they do.
Mm.
And so it's a really good thing, a very powerful. I know we watched that one video of that Samoan brother who was like, man, he just needed to get out of his house.
Oh,
Right?
the
He
San
just
Diego
needed
one.
to go-
Yeah.
yeah. You know, he's a guy. He looks like he did some tours overseas in the Middle East. So who knows? Maybe he has some PTSD. Maybe he has some, you know. And I know a lot of the guys who go to the military. When you go through a serious situation, the relationship in the brotherhood to them matters more because they've gone through some experiences with their platoon or whatever. So that brotherly relationship means a lot more to them. So that's really cool. I also think there may be some like secondary opportunities that come out of this, and that is because there's a network, right? There's going to be some interesting economic opportunities that come out of this. Like, let's say you're trying to launch a new product or a new whatever. One of the ways that you could tap into accessing the Polynesian market is, hey, maybe I can leverage the network of the Kalapus, and if they like, then it can travel. So there's also good things that can come about just people being connected to each other, right? And being organized in groups. I mean, like I said, I mean, I can't tell you how many guys probably have PhDs, and it was Kalapus that fed them, right? It gave them money to buy their books, pay for housing and stuff, because the Kalapus would, you know, come together. You know, what they used to, I don't know if they still call it that or not, but Aiki Kapainu, right? Like when they say, oh, Aiki Kapainu for someone, that means everybody knows, like, oh, everybody's gonna come in, drop $20 each or whatever.
They still use it. They still use that term.
They still use that term. And so there's a lot of good things that come out of this, right? Obviously, someone is inevitably going to make a bad mistake, and then everybody might think, oh, we got to shut it down. But I was like, hey, calm your horses, you know. But I'm really excited to see where it goes and what could come out of it. There's going to be some interesting opportunities out of it.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, some of the things that even like what you told to, there's some secondary benefits, like even the times that I've gone to this Fofo'anga that's in Otara here, I'm in New South Auckland. It's like the same families that do like fundraising that need help with some money and stuff. They always come with food and stuff. They always show up to the Faikawa place to tell like whoever's the president and stuff. Oh, you know, the lady is here to come and sell. Talk to him, and he's like, then he tells the lady how many things they have. She brings it all. Then he gets it. And then he lets the guys, you know, saying that, hey, buy some stuff or help this lady fundraise. And like that's part of the trickle economic benefits of the Faikawa clubs that they a lot of people don't see, that helps families who are struggling. And then some other ones I just saw, like there was a there's a Faikawa Kalapu here from Pea. They were raising funds to pay the widows that live in Pea in Tonga to pay their electric bills. See, like all these things we don't hear. If you're not in the Kava world to see all the positives, the person can also give why this is useless, or you know, kind of thing. But those are the positives that, like you kind of mentioned, with some of the trickling benefits that come.
And for some reason, like a lot of things, why is it that we just hear about the bad things and not the good things? With the fight, you just hear about the bad thing, like one bad thing.
And they forget about
you don't hear about the
thousands of good things.
Yes.
So here's like a last topic I think we can close the night out with. We're gonna hit 2 hours here, and I think that's been a good session for everyone. Have you guys heard of, I mean, I think Maka may have heard of him, but the Tongan cowboy butcher dude? Yeah, he seems to be doing a pretty good thing out there. What do you know about him, Maka?
That's actually he's actually a nephew of mine. So
okay,
I just ain't seen him in a long time, so I don't even know where he's living right now. But yeah, he's doing he's definitely pushing his stuff on social media for sure. So
so he's Tongan. Is he half Ekasi? He kind of looks, he's half Ekasi Tongan.
Gono Tamaiwe Palan.
Okay,
Ah.
and he lives
I
somewhere
mean,
in Utah in the rural
his
area.
his mom's Palangi.
His mom's
His dad's my cousin. So
Okay, and
Ah.
and he's the guy does his own farm, and he
yeah.
raises his own cattle, his own sheep and stuff.
Mhm.
He does butchers horsey,
Yeah.
sippy, and beef and stuff, and it's kind of
Nice.
cool. It's kind of cool, right?
No,
Go
no, I
ahead,
was gonna
Mas.
say he reminds me of the family. So in Provo, there's a Wolfgram. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Wolfgram family, same thing. Kind of, it reminds when I saw the Tongan Cowboy. It reminds me of them. They had a farm. They also had a business of you pay $200 just for the pig, but if you I think it's 250 if you want them to gut it and cook
do
it.
the whole
Just come
deal.
and
Mm.
do the whole deal. So
Yeah.
the Wolfgram family back in Provo was kind of like that place that a lot of the Tongans would kind of get their meat or do their fai at.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean, he did a interview, I think, with the Rooted podcast, or yes, it
Mm.
Rooted, Culturally Rooted
Culturally rooted.
podcast.
Mm.
They did, and he was kind of interesting to hear his story. I didn't know much about him. I think I seen a couple videos here and there, um, but
Nice.
he does a lot. It looks like his wife here was cleaning out knockout because they do the knockout everything, and
Mm.
he has an interesting model where he looks like he partners with like a family in certain communities, and
Mm.
he'll deliver the product into their freezers, and then people can buy it from
Mm.
Oh,
those families, whether they're in Seattle or Salt Lake or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's got an interesting business model going on there. He also runs like football camps,
oh, nice.
Mm.
runs like a football camp situation. So it's kind of cool to see our people doing different things,
Yeah.
Mm.
right? Kind of diversifying and trying different stuff.
Yeah.
Where in Utah, Maka, is your nephew running his
I,
farm there?
that's what I mean. I don't know. Last time I
Okay.
seen him, he was living here in Salt Lake, but I don't know where he's at now. But he did grow up out here. I think originally they actually did come from. They actually came from Texas as
Ah,
little kids, but he pretty much grew up out here in
Okay.
South Jordan area, or he went to high school in South Jordan at least.
okay. Okay. Nice, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm
Cool.
trying to find where it shows where he's living right now,
Yeah.
Okay.
but
I think I think he's somewhere in Utah. I just don't know if he's like more south than Provo or up
Yeah.
north or east or west or
Yeah.
maybe in the Salt Lake area, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
no,
yeah,
he's
for me, my
outside.
go
He's outside of Salt Lake.
Yeah.
He's
outside.
outside
Okay.
because he's in the country area,
Well, yeah.
and he says he goes to Salt Lake whenever he does his big deliveries and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So he could be okay. So he's pretty far then. Because I
Mm.
mean, the Wolfgram family in Provo, that was the
The
spot where
go-to.
we do fahi hoshi, and then they
Mm.
got it and everything, and then they had the business of the roasting pigs and stuff, and people pick
Yeah.
it up. So
Wow.
that's pretty cool.
They still around or?
They should still be around,
Mm.
from what I heard. I mean, because they had
Mm.
their house and a whole land of
Yeah.
land stock and everything.
Wow.
So yeah.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah. So this is like a video, I guess, of like some of his sippy.
Tagging PETA in my shit and saying this and that.
He definitely, I think he prescribes to the Gary V approach, which I agree with. To build your content, just document what you do every day, right? So that's what he does. Is he just documents when he's slaughtering, when he's fixing
Yeah.
his farm. So he has like a deal where he worked out with this older gentleman because his grandma grows up in this small town out of Utah or Idaho, wherever it is.
Yeah.
And so he's back there, and he worked out a deal with the guy where it's like a rent to own on the farm.
Mm.
So
Oh,
pretty cool.
nice.
Pretty excited for him, and
Yeah.
hopefully he continues to be successful.
Yeah.
And but with that being said, we'll go closing thoughts, Masi, then Maka, and then we'll close out tonight. We're hitting the
No.
2-hour mark. Any thoughts?
Yeah. Nope. Appreciate the conversation for today. Appreciate the viewers and your always constant contribution. It was a pleasure and an honor to do one with you, Maka
Mm.
Malo and Mari.
Malo.
Appreciate it. But no, nothing much. Like I said, we live in this world. We're navigating, especially when we're living in the Western world, trying to navigate what's good that's gonna elevate us as a family, but at the same time, when to also remember our roots and always practice our cultural practices. That is good because
Mm.
the way once you know your identity and what your ancestors have sacrificed, it gives you a purpose. And don't forget that. But at the same time, know when to always learn new things of what the surroundings you're in, and be better because your ancestors sacrificed for you not to be in the same level but to be better, but at the same time remember where you came from. But that's
Mm.
all. Hello.
Mm.
Mahalo, Masi. Maga.
Yeah, just like Masi was saying, I think the thought that comes to mind is just going back to the fight Kava. There's a lot of reasons people go to fight Kava: the camaraderie, the conversation. You might learn some things, the networking, helping people out. But at the end of the day, I just it brings to mind, the term of, when we say, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And that, I have cousins and friends who still can't bring themselves to fight kava. They still, drink or whatever. And when they would ask me, well, how can you drink that? Why do you drink that? I'm like, man, it just reminds me of who I am. And I'm just holding a piece of our culture, make sure we don't lose it, and pass it on to, the future. But with anything, you just have to, if you do it in the right way, it's always going to be a good thing, I think. And that's just something that just always comes to mind. But just don't be like me and abuse your pass if you have a if you get a pass. Muy maya, muy
Ay, pe mo
Tesi,
foto, eh?
like Akiteshi, Pepe Kumato Ato, we always like to push. We always like to push a little bit. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we're
Don't
still
worry,
human.
Maka.
We're still
Yeah,
human.
we're still human. We're still human.
So that's it. Malo,
Hey.
Malo, you guys, and
Malo,
yeah.
Maka.
Yeah, we'll close out with the last few comments here. Jose Malo, it's a pleasure, Malo.
Yep.
Good to see you. Nacho, ame o ke lere 7-Eleven lolotonga hele poko haina e kore ke alo ke lere ki 7-Eleven. Taku o se visa, Nacho. Malo.
Let him out money, Sam Lenny, Sam Dino, Nacho.
Yeah. Here we go. Looks like Wada Bears, our PR made an announcement 20. So 20 live on YouTube. So I think we maxed out at around 30 something overall because with the people showing up on Facebook and so forth. So that turned out pretty good. Malo Wada Bears for taking care of that.
Malo
God bless. Malo. Malo Yako. God bless. Malo. Appreciate it. It was great. Appreciate it. We do have one funny last minute. We have our brother over here showed up last minute and had a good little comment here, and I think we have looks like fleas increase fleas has a new account, which is a crack up. We love fleas, increase fleas. We know it's you, brother, but we love you too. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome again.
And then Malo Yako Malo, appreciate it. Hey Mataafa, thank you for the comments and more. Appreciate it. It's always fun to connect. I appreciate everyone's comments. It's always fun to kind of meet up, discuss. We appreciate everyone's support. As always, if you could like, share, comment, really goes a long way to kind of help us get more exposure. And once again, as always, we say be bold, ask bold questions, and stay curious. And until next time, peace. Have a good one, guys.